Something now that we have a lot of minorities in the federal government jobs, they are now talking about eliminating jobs and cutting back and eliminate. I understand the federal government, as far as I'm concerned, has a lot of duplicate things that need to be changed. But now that we're in the middle class thing, additional middle class, you're able to do things, you're able to take care of your family and etc. Now these folks are going to lose their jobs. I went to the post office for the pension. I knew that was coming to me. Okay, for the health plan, for the services that was coming to me. That's what I went into the post office to have for me for when I got older. Now they're talking about eliminating this for the retirees.
Well, that is really what I wanted to start out with, to get to hear you tell your story, where you came from, like, where were you born?
Oh, okay. I'm a Long Islander. I came from the Five Towns. I was born in Nimrod, Long Island, New York. And when people ask me about where did I come from, the South, I always say South Nassau. They say, what? Yeah, South Nassau County. That's where my hometown is. And I went to school there, raised my family there, most of it, until I went through a lot of marital problems, like a lot of women, and ended up moving into the city. And that was after, let me see, it wasn't it was a wonderful childhood. As far as I'm concerned, my hometown is a wonderful place for bringing up young people and etc. But after you get past 21, get out of there, because there's nothing else but a little country town other than that. I'm very happy for the atmosphere and the way that things were when I grew up, because rich people out there. It was because of the Jewish community and etc. My school was very integrated. In fact, I think we started it. Our parents were very upset with us, but we started the integration of the kids, young people going with each other and etc. Our folks theirs and ours was very upset about that crossing the line, even though we would live next door to each other and all that old kind of nonsense. But it was just something that was on the way. I'm happy for my childhood, because I did a lot of things. We did a lot of coming into the city for visiting. I got to see the cultural things that a lot of New Yorkers did not and do not see because they live here, right? But anyhow, after I had got my beautician license and etc., I came to New York and I thought I could work at a beauty parlor, and did not realize how prejudiced situation was, New York City was, until I moved here. When I was out on Long Island, I was able to work in a beauty parlor and attend to white patrons and etc. My boss and one of the patrons sent me to beautician school because of the fact that the Sunshine Law came out, that you had to serve whites and blacks. Remember, I don't know if you ever remember that. That's a long time ago when law for New York State came that you had to be able to serve anybody that walks into your shop. So my boss sent me to beautician school so that I could be able to take care of the blacks that were working around it. Out there was what we call the young ladies came up from South to work into the houses to take care of the kids and all this stuff. What do we call them? Our Thursday girls, because that was their day off. Anyhow, that's what I did. So then, after my marriage and everything went bad, and I moved into the city, I thought I could work in a beauty parlor, and that's when I ran into prejudice that I didn't know what the hell was happening. I messed around until I got a job working in a restaurant, and my taste and wonders of unions came out at, what's the airport? TWA at that time, out in LaGuardia. They had their air thing where they fixed the planes and all that kind of stuff. And when I went in all we did, we served the coffee and worked the cafeteria, right? Well, my little group of men, I had how many? I had 50 that I had to serve every morning. So what I would do was I'd find out what they all liked, and I'd have their little set up whatever they wanted for their meal. So they didn't have to run like everybody else had to do to go at the other carts to find out. Anyhow, behind that, and the fact that I was having fun, because I was living here in the Bronx. Now, I had to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get out to LaGuardia, to be there by 6:30 in the morning. Well, my boss, I ran against the guy that was the shop steward. And I won. And because I won, they fired me for my lateness. They fired me for my lateness. So what happened, the TWA guys, they went on strike. They didn't go in the cafeteria for 3 days. I was, whoa.
Wow.
And what I found out was the guys that I was serving happened to be the chiefs and the bosses of the chapter that was in the TW thing for the whole LaGuardia thing. So I had the top guys. I had to do something for me. So the guy that was in charge said, I have to come out here and meet this lady that can close down my place. That's when I fell in love with unions.
Wow.
So in the interim, I'm looking for a better job. The post office, like I said at that time, 64, after Kennedy signed equal pay for equal work, in case you didn't know it, the only way females got into the post office was if their husbands, brothers, or sons happened to have been veterans. And the jobs that they did were just a lightweight job, so therefore, since they were doing the lightweight jobs, they're just sitting there, what we call boxing the mail, putting the mail in the thing. They got paid less than the men, and it still was chunk change, okay? So he signed the bill for equal pay, equal work. That's when I put in for the job. And I want to tell you, at that time, when you went for a job with the post office, you were taking a Regents exam.
Really?
Honestly. You had to know math. You had to write a composition, recognize books, the classical books that were out, and make a comparison. And the most important thing that you had to write was this 300-word composition of why you wanted the job. And it was a 4-hour test. So I put in for the post office, bridge and tunnel, police department, fire department, and I was so desperate, I said, whoever called me first, that's where I was going. As it was, the post office asked for me to report. And 2 days after I reported to the Postal Service, and they hired me, everybody else sent me in report.
Yeah.
So I got into the post office. Post office at that time, it was a good job. I say it was a good job because most of the management people were people who had been in the post office. They knew what had to be done, how it had to be done. They were veterans, okay? You didn't have to come out of college to become a supervisor. You just had to be on there. And also, at that time, it really wasn't union orientated. They had societies. The Irish, the Italian, and what was the other one? The black one too. So it was a conglomeration. Now, nothing got together again until we had the strike. And the carriers did call the strike. They were the leaders of the strike.
And you all had quite a few different unions for...
We had exactly about 6 unions at that time. Each one of the crafts, each one of the crafts had some part of a union. And it was a situation. I was tickled about the whole thing because I was ready with my folks to walk out that night that we went to work. my president called me and said, Bailey, you know, you're not in charge of this.
Are you talking about Mo Biller?
Yes, and I love him. And I'll back up on that too. Thankful for him. I came in at the time that he needed a female who was, I guess, adamant or whatever the heck you want to call me, but he needed that type of female because most women did not want to be in unions because the look of a female union officer was a black suit, white shirt, and a tie and thing. Well, I was wearing minis.
Yeah, I remember that back in the 60s.
Yeah,
Right.
I was wearing minis.
Oh, wow. I'm sure that in that office you were a welcome sight.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yeah, I was wearing minis and
Wow.
very adamant about the fact, I was very angry, not adamant, angry about the fact that the post office, as fast as they were hiring women, they were firing us because of the fact, lack of child care. When you were brand new, you went to the night tour, went to the midnight tour, and there were no facilities for taking care of children or having someone to be around to take care of the child because most of us were single moms. Most of us were single moms. So I went to the union office by myself and pitched a bitch with Billa, and he just sat there and looked at me about the fact that the union wasn't doing a damn thing about protecting the women who were losing their jobs because they didn't have child care and etc. And after I got through screaming and carrying on with him, he said, "You got a job. Find out how we can help."
Wow. What was your position in the...
I was nothing,
Oh, rank and file.
a rank and file.
So he hired you on staff.
On staff, I was the community relations person. That was the job that I had before I became a shop steward. I was
So
community.
you created that position?
He created that position for me.
And you made it.
I made it.
Wow.
I had a good time because he took me under his wing, and where he went and whatever negotiations he did and etc. He taught me how to be involved. And at that time also we were, besides promoting the labor movement, we were promoting the women's movement, okay, and also being involved in politics. So he would send me whatever was there, Bella, Zug, and all the rest of us. Oh, I had the most wonderful people to be around at that time.
And who was the black woman running for president in the 60s?
Shirley Chisholm.
Sure. Did you talk with her?
Yes, we were very, 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 very tight. Yes, because he made sure that Shirley knew me and I knew her. Bella Zug, who the heck else? All of them. Every female that was it, or he thought that was going to be predominant or him. And the first thing he told me, okay, you're in the organization. Whenever they take a picture, I want you up front. He said, I want you up front. I said, no, he said, you figure a way. You will figure a way to be up front.
So when the strike was, well, you know, I've been reading this book about the Postal strike.
In 1970.
Yeah, you know the one. It's about APW. And there was a lot leading up to the strike because you guys had to basically, as they say, beg
For everything.
for everything. You had
We
to
had-
go to Congress.
Yes, but before that, every pay raise had to come before Congress, like they still make the rest of them do now. Okay, every pay raise, we did more. I'd say every year we were down in Washington D.C. on a bus, going in there asking for more money. My top salary that I remember making was $3,000. Okay,
Back in the
back in the
60s.
'60s. Okay, $3,000. That was my yearly salary.
With overtime or?
Overtime. Overtime doesn't really, well, it doesn't count towards your pension, but it counts on your salary thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But overtime wasn't. Let me see. How should I say? As a sub, you didn't get paid for overtime. That's what I was.
Yeah,
Okay. The regulars did, but it was still chunk change.
Well, I believe what I read in the book was that in '69, average salary was $3 and change.
Could have been, should have been. I remember I had gotten remarried, and they did just before we went on strike.
Mm-hmm.
They did an article about this carrier and how much money that he made.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband said, "You make that much money?" I said, "Oh no, I don't make that kind of money. That's this carrier making." I had one of the things about sharing how much money I was making, but
Yeah.
we were at the status that we could get food stamps.
Yeah.
That's good. That was the way our salary was, that we could apply for food stamps or any other thing that the government was giving to help our family to survive.
Yeah. So at that time, you're coming in as a black woman.
Mm.
Lots of other black people are coming in too,
Yeah,
right?
that was our
Veterans.
flow. We had the Vietnam veterans at the,
Yeah.
well, that came after I became a shop steward. I have to say my Vietnam
And
veterans.
certainly Second War.
Well, they were
War
there.
veterans.
Oh, they were there.
too.
My father was there. My father was upset that I had got hired as. My father says, "I don't understand how you could be so out there." He says, "Your mother's a quiet lady and I'm quiet. Where'd you get this from?" Because, like I said, Bill had me out, and I do have to say I was cussing and everything. And he said, every time I'd wait for you to say a cuss word. He said, but I couldn't understand. He said, because you basically would curse anybody out in a minute. He said, but when you got ready to make a speech, you never cussed.
Well, so you played with Mo Biller. Now this is a pleasant surprise to me. I want you to know that you are actually right up front in the leadership when your union. Did you take a vote to not cross the picket line? Was that how it went down?
Yes, not cross the picket line. To join thing and not cross the picket line.
Not to cross. So your union took a vote.
Right.
But
Big.
not crossing.
Right.
So what part did you play in all of that?
Well, at that, I'm gonna tell you, I really was a backup. I did not push myself forward when we went for the vote to go on strike, because we did that right there. What's this called? The center on 34th Street that now that the Indians have, whatever the heck it was. We went in there. We were there. That's
Okay.
when we took the strike vote.
All right.
And everybody was ready. Okay, we were all ready because we realized so much we were lacking. Okay, so much we were lacking. And we felt as though this was the time to do it, and unless there's only one way. And like everybody should know, if New York, and it had to be New York City that did it, all right? Because not all over the country was everybody really in line, because they were afraid. Like my father was afraid. My father was definitely afraid. And a lot of our veterans are guys that came from World War II, that were veterans that had gotten hired. And they were so happy to have had a federal job that Uncle Sam allowed them to come in. That they didn't have to go through all the tests and stuff that we did. So they allowed these guys, if we put them for an application, he became a member of the post office. And I will tell you, my father was afraid. He was very afraid. It was twofold, really. working to upgrade our position within the Postal Service, but also the upgrade or the movement from being a brand new union and the merging of the postal unions, which I was a part of. Then because of the fact that we had 28,000 members, we were the largest local in the American Postal Workers Union, okay? And the fact that the transition that we went through in the union movement, okay? Because out of it all, I'm quite sure, and I know that Billa was looking for the recognition of APW within the labor movement, which we worked and we helped set up the Central Labor Trades Council. Okay, so like I'm saying, I got a whole lot of different phases of the thing that I was in the middle of. And I love the idea that I was in the middle of the women's movement. Okay? I was the Coalition of Labor Union. I helped organize that. I brought my local into that. We had a chapter here in New York City that no place else was working with women's movement. And we had the resentment of the men that they felt as though we should have waited till they got their due and then they would bring us in, which as far as I'm concerned, they never have. I had I'm not gonna say we black women had to fight with our own black men because they did not like the idea of us being as dominant as we were. And they insisted that we should help get them in the top spots and then we come back later, or they'd help us, which they still do not do. Okay. Once we got recognition, even in my own damn American Postal Workers Union, there's always forces that want to eliminate our group, what we call POW, Post Office Women for Equal Rights. Somebody every year puts in a resolution to eliminate them because they're saying that we're now one. They're not. They still give females a hard time.
I have to write that down. Power.
Post Office Women for Equal Rights. And I'm still a member as a retiree. Like I say, I pay dues to my local, I pay dues to my national, to make sure that I still have a right to vote in everything, in anything that goes down. But it's a way that I feel like I'm giving back, though. Because this union, I doubt very much if I would have been as active as I am or been involved or have the knowledge that I have. I remember Billa, when we first started, and Billa recognized that women were going to be the dominant force in the post office, and he helped us against some of he got backlash from the guys and from his officers. He sent us to school, brown bag school, so we could learn parliamentary procedure and the workings of the labor movement and etc. So, like I said, I got so many phases. I got so many parts of being involved in the post office. And I have to thank the post office for giving me the opportunity to have done all these things, to have involved. I got involved with politics that I didn't even, I said, oh, please. Making sure that our ladies got their positions. I didn't feel as though I was that good at it, so I really let the girls that was trying to be the big shots go ahead and do it. So I call myself, and still do call myself, I'm a background person. I'll help you. I'll help you get anything. You can use my knowledge. I will show you how to do things. I don't have to be in front. That's not me. I don't have to be the front. I don't have to be the leader.
After the strike,
After
more and more
females
and black Americans became
part of the what are we? Middle income people who had some money finally, okay?
And today, it's my now check me if I'm wrong, but some 80% of New York Metro is
I'm
black.
I can see it being that way. I can see it being that way.
And what do you think is the percentage of
You
women?
want to know something?
Women too.
Oh, women things, I'd say it's almost 2-to-1 now.
2-to-1 women.
I think so now. I'm quite sure, because it
And
was
4 out
working.
of 5, maybe 4 out of 5 people of color.
And then that's including Latino and now the Asians. The Asians came in the 90s. And they practically stayed by themselves, but I learned how to I learned how to utilize those ladies too. All you needed was one. All you needed was one person out of their little group. Whatever that leader said, that's what got done.
Well, the struggle in the 70s
70s.
was for the right of collective bargaining
That's correct.
and dignity, human dignity.
That's correct.
Equal rights, as you say.
Yes, definitely within the postal service, within the government. We I'm trying to say, was the post office made quasi at that time? Yes, that's when they took the post office out of the federal government budget and gave it its own running ability, gave its own right to raise funds. Like
You had a guy named Blount.
Blunt.
Was the first Blunt?
Blunt.
The first postmaster general.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. It made a difference that this is where we got the right to bargain for our contracts for whatever we got. It was when they took the post office out of the government agencies, and that wasn't a government agency like the Department of Labor and all the rest of them. We had our own. We had our rights. It went back to, as far as I'm concerned, to the constitutional thing that's in the Constitution, that the post office shall be a department of its own.
But also back in the middle 70s, I believe, they first some people started thinking about privatizing it.
Oh, right after, I'm going to give it. I'm going to say the 80s. I'm not going to say the 70s. I'm going to say after we had gotten ourselves together and really was bargaining and our bosses were very happy that we were bargaining for our pays, because as long as we got a pay raise, they knew that they was getting a pay raise too. Okay. That's when we got better unemployment, not unemployment, but on-the-job injuries, where we were able to do a better job of setting up light duties, of working with the Department of Labor for our folks to be paid better. And what the heck was the other big thing that we were working on? Trying to remember and trying to back up. Well, of course, like I said, as far as I was concerned, the big thing was equal rights for the ladies.
Well, that's a long. It's a long time since then, and we've seen so many changes. I mean, the wars we've been through, all the debt that those wars have heaped upon us as workers, and then all the speculation that has led to one crash after another, and just the technological changes across the whole system itself.
Across every system. The post office, and I'm making a statement, in the 80s, 90s, the post office recognized that the internet and computer that it was going to be a force, okay? Because they started making changes, we became much more technical. We were using, instead of manual labor, the post office changed their machineries from one where we had the big bulk machine where they processed the mail, to they were sitting down doing individual ones, the individual keying with the computer. Then when they came with the zip code, when they came with the zip code, that was an argument. Before that, you had to learn a scheme. All mail was separated according to addresses. Okay? So you got a better job of knowing where the mail was going. So everybody that went, every clerk, I'm going to not say everybody, every clerk that was in the post office had a scheme. That meant that they had to learn where, whatever New York City, which was divided, the Bronx had their own scheme, Long Island, and etc. But you had to pass a test every year to make sure you're proficient in putting this mail, separating this mail, okay? So behind the fact that the changes were coming, they eliminated us having, doing manual separation, except for an emergency. But the thing that got to us when they came up with the zip code was that they were allowing the mailers to put any kind of zip code they wanted on the thing. Okay? For a, what is it called? Decrease in postage. They didn't have to pay so much postage because they packed their mail into zip codes. Okay? But in the meanwhile, we were responsible for directing it to the right place. Up to this date, I don't look at zip codes that much. Where they say zip code +5, I do not do the +5 because that is another automated section that the mail goes on. If I only put the zip code, that gives the practice that the clerk will be able to key it. But now with the barcode on it, then they threw the barcode on. Is that not another set?
Yeah. Now, we have a situation where they're using technology against the workers.
That's correct.
In so many different ways, but today they've laid off what already, or we've lost by attrition a couple 100,000, resulting in these long lines. And now they're saying that because there's no money and so on,
they're saying there's no mail. They're saying there isn't any mail. Well, they were preparing for the fact that the volume was going to be less. Okay. They've been preparing for it, I'd say, since the 80s. They've been ready for it. So why do you keep hiring people if you know that your volume is going to be less? Again, you're getting ready for privatizing.
So here we are today, and we're facing what could be just cataclysmic changes.
It will definitely be.
Now, our coalition is out to stop it. And Co-op City, the people nobody wants to lose Dreiser Loop.
No.
I don't want to lose Botanical Station. You know, that's mine. And the people in Riverdale. You know, we could sort of draw a straight line across the top of the Bronx.
That's correct.
You know, going from there up to Riverdale.
Yeah, we looked at when we first got a word about how they were closing the post office, and they said we were closing. Well, so many post offices in the whole New York area, but we had 17 here in the Bronx.
In the Bronx.
And the neighborhoods that the 17 are in are where minorities live.
Now they've
a lot of
closed.
Seniors.
They closed Van Nest already, I think.
Yeah, I think when they did the thing for Einstein, they did 3 more that they kept.
They saved Einstein, Castle Hill, West Farms, and Hunts Point.
Right.
Now, who knows why? You know, and what's going to happen to the other ones? And what do we have to do to stop it? Now,
People power.
people power. And we have this, people, what do we have at the people power meeting that you're going to tomorrow to speak at. But now you're still an organizer here at Co-op City. And you're going to bring the people out for March 17th.
I hope.
But here's what I would like to ask. What, as a seasoned organizer, over the whole span of your adult life, what's your vision going forward? What do you feel the younger generation needs to know in order to fight?
They need to know the history. They need to know that what they have was not gotten easily. That what they need to do is they need to be much more involved in unions. All over the whole country, I have to say, union power has declined. We know that, okay? All over the country, every union that had power, it's almost cut in half with the new folks that came in that swear to God what they got is due them, owed to them, or something. They do not realize there was sweat and tears for them to have the high-paying jobs, to have the technical jobs that are available. Okay, if you understand how bad it was for somebody else, for those of us who came first, so that you could have, if you really understood, you wouldn't let a damn soul take it away from you. Because this is what they are attempting to do with the closing of the post office, with the closing of the bulk mail centers, and etc. It's ridiculous. Half of the stuff that they say that they're doing, like moving the mail from the Bronx down to Manhattan and the Brooklyn mail over to Queens or the Staten Island mail to etc. They tried it before. It did not work because of the way that New York is set up, okay? And for us to allow the post office or anybody to take away the way they've taken away from us, it's bad. And it only is happening because we're sitting back waiting for somebody else to take care of business. Ain't gonna happen, brothers and sisters.
They want to close something like 260 of the processing centers. They've already taken out the Bronx. They've taken out Frederick, Maryland, which is becoming famous. And they've taken out, I think, in Oakland. I don't know what other ones they've taken out.
Well, I know upstate they have.
They have.
No, yes, upstate they have. I have my girlfriend in Syracuse. It's only
In Syracuse. They took
Syracuse. Syracuse is there, but they've taken all the other ones all around them. All the other smaller processing plants. They have now pushed them into Syracuse.
Okay.
So now, and that's even worse. They really got to have that mail that's got to be traveled, and they've closed these post offices. Now these people have got to work at a job. The post office has a thing that they can move you within 300 miles of your house to work. Only thing good about New York that we've always saved is ours is 100. Ours is only 100. I don't know if we lost it yet or not, but we only had 100. You can only move us 100 miles.
To me, it just sounds, I wanted to ask you something else that's related to this. See, what I was talking, I was at Branch 36 Thursday and speaking to some of their officers. And in particular, I'm trying to get information like, how is the closing at a Bronx facility affecting the letter carriers? And they said Co-op City is getting their mail later in the day, so they're going to start delivering later.
Well, I
Do
know.
you know about that already?
I know, and I was waiting for that shoe to drop, okay? Because I know that quite a number of the other places around us, that they're not getting their mail till 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, I have not talked to my carrier as of late, but I was waiting for that shoe to drop for our guys here. And I know that they have now given them larger runs to do, which the only good thing about it is that the buildings are, you can walk from one building to the other.
Okay.
But they've given them a larger parcel to work.
Oh.
Okay, now that, if it's gonna take later for this mail to come from downtown to my Co-op City Corner Street, okay? And I'm not sure of exactly how if it's gonna be already set up for the carriers to take out, or are they still gonna have to do separations there? I'm not sure. But if it's gonna happen that way, yes, my carrier is gonna be late. I get my mail at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which is wonderful. But I know of places that they say they're getting their mail 6, 7 o'clock in the evening.
So I can see there the direct connection. I mean, the concern is save Dreiser Station. At the same time, you have a vested interest in reopening the Bronx Processing Center.
That very much so.
And my question is, would you incorporate that into your demands on March the 31st when you're going out?
I would do so. I would check it out with my local to make sure of how we're working it.
Yeah.
They're allowing me right now just to concentrate on the Dreiser station, and then we'll work on the bigger thing as we get down the line. As we find out, as we find out exactly how our politicians are working, okay, on this situation. We're almost backing up to the days when we first started, when we had to go down to Congress and beg for a salary, and the politicians had a big play in what you got and who got what and if you got it or not, okay? So we're backing up to the situation that we have to talk to them and have them on our side for real. They were very lackadaisical.
What happened to Serrano when it came to the Bronx plant?
And he was so much involved in it before. I don't know what happened. I haven't. My office haven't figured it out either. What happened? I don't know who angered him, who made him upset or something. That's the only way I can figure it out, because he was talking. He was viable when nobody else was viable. Not another politician was around. Somebody else we have to consider in there, and I don't know why we're leaving him out all the time, is Jeff Klein, too. He has one building here in Co-op City. I don't know how that line got in there.
Yeah, that's funny, those lines.
But he's got one line.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
got one building 1 to be exact. That's under his jurisdiction.
What it looks to me like at this time is that the only way that we can save the post office as an institution is with a national movement, because
Gotta be.
we could save Dreiser Loop.
It's
But if they get away with shutting down even a third of those processing plants, we could lose the whole thing. And so that's where I think that what's going on in Frederick is really important, where the APWU, I'm not sure that, is it Local 81? They have organized to reopen Frederick.
I'm not sure what the local is now.
I'm not either, but the guy's name is Richard Shelley, and he's pushing this thing, and they lost 750 workers at that plant.
My God.
And the story coming out of there is that mail is sitting in trucks. Can you imagine medicine sitting in trucks? That would happen here if they get away with closing Brooklyn and Queens and Staten Island.
Yeah. Yes, it will.
So the question that comes to my mind that I was going to pose before, does it look to you, as it does to me, that it's sabotage? from the top on down.
Could be. It's done with a purpose. It's done for a purpose.
If you consider that Donahoe is friends with the Koch brothers and Daryl Lyson.
Let me tell you something. Our postmaster situation, I have not been able to figure it out. Who retired before Donahue? He got a pension out of the post office. He got money from mailers. Yes, I can't do that. This is the whole setup on the top there is just not right. And I don't think they don't care. They don't care about whether this post office remains or not. I don't think not one of them there.
You know what I like what you said when we met with you the other night? You said, and I wrote it down. I got it in my book. You said that Co-op City could have a ripple effect all across New York City.
I feel as though we could. I feel as though we should. Because you hear people say, "Oh, well, you're the biggest, so you get it. If you get it, I don't know why we can't get it." Okay, yeah. And I particularly if the rest of the folks know, but I said, "Well, hell, if all you have to do is show up at a meeting."
Yeah.
This is something that we're concerned about. Working on the Dreiser post office is the fact that Section 5 is organized. We've always been organized. We've been organized for years. Okay, so when we decide to do something, I guess 10 buildings is a little easy to function. To do something or what we want, we go ahead and perform. Okay, the building presidents go ahead and unite.
Yeah.
So this is something that I am going to be. This is going to be the second front of what I'm working on to hold on to the Dreiser, to get to the Dreiser post office. Because it's really going to affect buildings 16, 17, 18, and maybe 19 and 20. Because the others are closer to the Connor station that they can, and buildings 1, 2, and 4, and 5. And that's basically on the outer side of Co-op City. So this thing that we're working on, I think is going to be the beginning of having duplicate of Section 5s in each one of these sections that we're working on, where the buildings will finally come together and say, hey, here's a better way of doing things. It might become very demonstrative behind even with management.
Well, people could probably even sit in on your meetings just as they were a class or something, to learn how to organize to save their post office. See, I attended a meeting in my own community this week. It's the Bedford-Mosholu Neighborhood Association. They're primarily focused on the Democratic Party. They're not so focused as you are on community organizing across a wide range of issues. And I think it has to do with leadership. And they, for instance, I was talking to the district manager, and he said he didn't feel comfortable passing out this flyer because the word stooge on the front line.
Oh.
And you didn't object to that, and you read it carefully too. I think that we have to really think realistically about our elected officials, even the ones that we love, like Obama. After all, Obama, after the NALC,
That's the carriers.
I think the NALC, or I'm not sure if it was Clarice. Maybe Clarice, one of them or the other, sent a delegation to Obama. I think it was the Branch 36.
All right.
They sent a delegation.
All right, that's the
to meet-
carriers.
Yeah, because I was in on a meeting with their shop stewards a week ago, and I'm getting a little bit mixed up, but they said that a delegation was sent to meet with Obama's staff, pleading with Obama to not shut down Saturday delivery, and that was before he came out to talk. So they're worried about how are we going to push for Obama when the elections come up, when he's done this, when he's.
It's out of his hands. See, that's it. I wouldn't. You want to know something? Honestly and truthfully, I wouldn't waste my time with Obama. I would not. Okay, or his staff. All right, I would not, as far as I'm concerned. This is a legislative thing that has to do with those congressional people that we have down there in Congress. They are the ones who can stop. Those are they have to talk to their compadres, whoever the hell they call them, whatever clique they got, to get enough votes to make sure that we have what we have. Like the letter that I got from Schumer talking about the act that they're planning to utilize to eliminate this $5 million money that the post office has to work on. Okay.
You mean $5 billion?
$5 billion. Why I always say million?
Is it $5.5 billion?
I have to eliminate it altogether.
Yeah.
That's where the pressure is. See, after being involved in politics, or after being involved in what's happening, I recognize my president, God bless him, and any one of them I have, okay? And I'm strictly a Democrat who votes independent. But anyhow, the last person I talk to, or I want to talk to, is the president. The last person I want to deal with is the president of the United States. I want to get to these guys that make the difference, the guys that make the bills, the guys and gals that make the bills, the guys and gals that destroy us or take us apart. This is why I'm trying to tell my postal folks, you all think that just because they say, well, I got a federal job. I said, that don't mean nothing. I said, just like they gave us the rights that they did, they had to vote to put the post office in the status that they had to okay everything that was being done in the post office. They gave us the Postal Commission that actually does it. These are the folks who make the difference, our congressional people, okay? Obama I won't say he's not important, and he probably could put some pressure on it, but after we get these folks on our side, we got to make them understand we're the people that put you in office. Take care of us.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take away. Why are you taking away from us? Hell, I think everybody's talking about the fact that we're about to lose the middle class. So the way you guys are going, you taking stuff away from us, our jobs. And the first thing that anybody in the federal, any one of those congressional people talk about, the first thing they talk about is eliminating the jobs and cutting back the salaries of unions.
Yeah. Crush the unions. You
Okay.
got 500,000 and more postal workers in strong unions. If those unions can be broken, labor is going to.
And
we all be in big trouble.
We are having problems too. We are having problems because quite a number of. I was talking to one of the guys from Pittsburgh. We see where our unions are not even as strong as they have been. They have a lot of these folks got in for the sake of the money.
Oh yeah.
The prestige of, and they forgot about the people they represent.
One last question. What do you think, and this is the question that was put to me by a shop steward, Branch 36. He asked me, Mike, what do you, if you could make the post office successful and work for the people and going into the future, what would you do to, how would you change it? And who but postal workers, postal workers would know better than almost anybody how the postal service could be made to, serve the people. So how, Eleanor, what change would you like to see the post office go through to serve the people according to the Constitution?
The way it needs to be done is to go back to the old time stuff of those folks who have been in the system. Let's eliminate bringing in Mr. Jobo because he ran a $50 million business. He doesn't know anything about the post office. He doesn't realize anything about it. They did a big push on bringing in folks from college who had college degrees. That was a big deal, okay? Although, I'm going to make the statement right now, most of the postal workers, when I came in the 60s, were folks who had degrees and et cetera. They were not just high school graduates. They were mainly college folks. They were working 2 jobs. You had to work 2 jobs to work in the post office at that time, okay? What they need are people who understand the postal system, who understand what the needs of the communities are. They have too many top brass, out of the system, out of the circulation folks attempting to run the post office. Post office cannot be ran like any other business. Okay? It just cannot be ran like that because there are too many factors, and the factors are people. It is a service to the people. It's not supposed to be $1 million organization bringing in all that kind of money. It is a service. You're serving people whether they're in the country or you're serving people in the city. Have stations, what do they got? One clerk working, and the line, I went over there today. The line is running around in this poor little lobby. I'd say the line, we had anywhere from 20 to 25 people in a line, okay, waiting to get served. That was strictly for postage, and on the other side they had for folks who were picking up. There was a line out there, 20, 25 people. Why didn't they have another clerk going to help move this line? That's bad service. It's nothing but a service. It is not a money-making machine. It's not supposed to be. And stop giving all the mailers and all those big-time folks all these discounts. You and I are paying full postage, whatever charge they're charging. You and I are paying the full. A mailer, he's only paying, I'd say, 1/3 of the cost of sending out. We need his business now. There's no lie about that. We need that kind of business. But hell, you have to get them that kind of service. If you're running into a deficit, well, let's even it up. I think that's what the problem is now in the United States of America. We're talking about the tax problem, right? The rich man is talking about filtering down. Well, it's not filtering down. And I was surprised that I went near big sign, government checks now, where you used to be able to go and get your check cash or buy 2 cents worth of stamp. Now they charge you $4 to cash your check. I said, well, what happened to the service to the people?
So if you gave it to if you had...
I had more people in there who knew, like when I came to the post office, all these gals and guys had been working in there. They were on the floor. They knew when this had to go out. They knew when trucks had to go. That's the way we had worked at the time, okay? Even though it was easy, because all you had to do was, you knew you had a 1204 trip to go, so everybody got together and we got the 1204 trips set up, and for the next one. We knew what had to be done and got it done. We didn't have to have anybody stand over us cracking a whip. And even when they went to using the computers and work, those clerks knew what to do. The supervisors, they knew that they had to have the mail coming out because there was a time level that had to go. The drivers knew what time it had to go. So what did we do? We contracted out to FedEx and everybody else. Okay, we did so much subcontracting. We've been our own worst enemies. And when I say not we, I'm talking about the Postal Service. We've been our own worst enemy. We're so busy trying to make a profit. No, don't say nothing about no profit.
No. Well, yeah, so what you're saying is that really the people who work in the system could run it very well if it were not for the 1%.
Who swear to God that this is supposed to be a business that's making money. It's not a money-making business. It's just keep afloat.
Well, we've talked a long time. What have we done? We've been talking for an hour, right?
Oh, yes.
And I'm gonna just end it here.